It's a low punt that doesn't spiral. Instead, it bounces short. And coming up to field it and muffing that ball was Christian Jones. Oh, and it touched another Bama player. That was Smith, who came in and touched it. Saban's out of his mind, angry. You just can't do that, says coach. And that is no good. They have struggled with place kicking. Ball is loose. And Anderson scoops it up. This is unbelievable what's been going on with Bama in special teams, but they get it back. Time and time again, when will it end? Quarterback sneak, he went vertical. I don't think he got it at all.
Well, that was the ugliest looking quarterback sneak I ever saw.
There's a penalty flag down.
12 men in the formation.
Wow. Saban is sick of all the miscues and mistakes, getting frustrated.
I knew why guys jumped off sides. If I knew why 12 guys went in the game out of a timeout. If I knew on 3rd and 1 why the guard jumped when we had a chance to run the clock out. When I know why we do all those things, I will quit doing this. All right, because that means I'm smarter than everybody, all right, and I can do something else. So I don't know. I don't know why.
Nick Saban said the biggest challenge that his team faced against Arkansas was pretty simple, just overcoming adversity. The Tide were outgained by over 100 yards offensively and had 4 penalties for 30 yards. But at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is the letter you put in the win-loss column, right? Well, the Tide etched a W into theirs on Saturday, and Nick Saban has no intention of referring to Alabama's win as anything close to disappointing.
You know, after viewing the film, I still think it was a great win for our team. Team really pulled together in the game, helped each other, competed well in the game, came back in the game. 1-point victory with kind of a will not be denied attitude, which I think is really, really important. We expected the game to be exactly like it was. That's what we expected as coaches. All right, and our players played through it. I know everybody else expects something completely different because they sometimes don't respect other people like they should. So we need to play better in some areas of our team. There's no doubt about it. We need to control the line of scrimmage better. We don't need to make as many mental errors on defense, especially on 3rd down. And we're much better on special teams than what we've been playing. So we need to improve, in all those areas. We practice special teams the same amount of time we've always practiced them. Last year we were first in the SEC in special teams overall. So I think we just have to make a better point of emphasis with our players because the problems are judgment and decision making. All right, and that's something that's hard to create. So when we practice punt return, we obviously have to practice some bad punts. And maybe that's something that we haven't done enough of because when our punter punts, he doesn't punt the ball 25 yards. All right, so we need to get somebody to punt the ball 25 yards so it's rolling around. So we give the signal for everybody to get away from it, and guys respond to that better. And, to make a decision when the ball hits the ground to go try to jump on it when there's 7 guys around, that's just a bad judgment and a bad decision. So that's like swinging at a ball over your head when you're playing baseball. We've had these same people in these positions before, and they have not made these kind of choices and decisions. Same coaching, same time on special teams, same everything. So what creates that? I'm not sure. All right, I think we have some guys on our team that might play with too much anxiety. All right, they need to relax and compete. All right, and that's what I enjoyed about the way we played in the Arkansas game, especially in the second half. Guys just played with a lot of heart, and they competed. Did they make mistakes? They made mistakes, but they played hard. And if we can get that out of our players, we're going to have a much better chance in the long run to be able to fix the problems that we have and be able to compete in the games like we need to have a chance to be successful. It's important that we make good decisions about how we distribute the ball, where we distribute the ball, and when it gets distributed, so that we're not holding the ball, in the pocket and stressing the protection. And that's a team thing. We got to do a better job with the protection. The route runners got to do a better job of having the right timing and running the right routes, and then the quarterback's got to get the ball out on time. Nobody likes to see guys make mistakes, but we want to help them every way that we can so that we can fix their mistakes. I don't think there's any sense in getting frustrated about it. That's probably not a good word. I mean, it is frustrating that we make these mistakes, but our focus as coaches need to be on what do we need to do to teach the players so that they can do it better and do it more consistently. And again, I think sometimes people press, to make plays. Why do they press to make plays? I don't know. You got to play smart. I mean, everybody wants smart players. Everybody wants strong competitors. Strong competitors can focus on what they need to do to be the best that they can be as a player, and part of that is always being smart and making good choices and decisions. So regardless of who makes the error, regardless of who, it has the same effect, same impact on the game and on the team. We have to help each other overcome these things. I was really pleased about, Blake didn't do the quarterback sneak right, but I really saw our players sort of help him and support him, because he made a mistake, and that was good. I think we need that on our team. Some of that has been missing on our team. And when Landon Collins intercepts the ball at the end of the game, I hadn't seen that much emotion out of our team for a long time. Everybody's got such a high expectation for what our team should be. I was just happy to see our players be happy about playing a game and winning. And it really sort of, if you want to know the truth about it, pisses me off when I talk to people that have this expectation, like they're disappointed that we only won the game 14-13 and in the way we played. Really, that's frustrating. You want to talk about something that's frustrating? That's frustrating to me. For our players who play with a lot of heart in the game.
And for as much as we talk about what Alabama does well, I feel like we take a lot of credit away from Arkansas and the way they played, and that's probably unfair. How much of Alabama's problems were created because Arkansas is that much better than they were a year ago?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think Arkansas had a lot to do with that. You don't hold Alabama to 66 yards rushing, 227 total yards by accident. I thought they had a great game plan. Darius Philon, Flowers, those guys played in the backfield. They harassed Blake Sims. They took Amari Cooper out of the game with some over-under coverage, meaning they had guys playing underneath him for the short routes with protection over the top for deep routes, Dari. It was a great game plan. I'm telling you, this is one of the most dangerous teams, because every fan base out there thinks you ought to go in there and boat race these guys for a 21-point win every week. That's not going to happen. When they come unloose on somebody, it's going to be ugly.
And you get the feeling, don't you, that they've been so close and so close that when they break through, I was talking to a friend, Bo Mattingly, in Fayetteville on the radio earlier, and I use the analogy. We talk about kicking the door open or getting through the door. It doesn't feel like they're just going to twist the handle and slide the door open when they get through there. Like they're going to kick it, and wood's going to fly everywhere, right?
They're going to bust it, and because they don't know how to do that yet. But once it happens, once they understand how to close the deal, Alabama knows how to close these deals. They did it Saturday. Arkansas hasn't closed the deal yet, and the only way you can learn how to do that, Dari, is you got to do it on the field, and you got to do it repeatedly. Once, then you can do it twice, and you can do it 3 times. They haven't done it in 15 SEC games.
Todd Gurley suspended by the University of Georgia pending an NCAA investigation. So the big question for the Bulldogs is, can they win without their star running back Todd Gurley?
Mason fakes it to Chubb. He keeps it. He's going to score. Hudson Mason, he scored. He lost the ball in the end zone, but that's a touchdown. Going to hang it up for the back corner of the end zone. It's gone. Sliding. Touchdown, Michael Bennett. Yes, sir.
Downfield, it is picked off. Picked off again.
Interception number 3. Matty Mock throws another pick. Douglas has some running room. Douglas 10, 5, he leads! Flipped into the end zone! Touchdown! Give him 10 on the flip and give him 6 for the score. Here he goes, 10, 5, 3, pylon, touchdown! Yes! Nick got the corner, and Georgia has 6 more on the board. It's 33-0.
There were impressive wins all over the conference. Ole Miss on the road, Mississippi State obviously too. And then Georgia, 34-zip at Missouri. Are you kidding me here? Look at what they did offensively. What impressed you the most?
Well, I thought they played with an edge on offense. You know, Dar, it was almost like they had heard enough about Todd Gurley's not going to be there, but hey, we're good players too. And I love how they physically manhandled Missouri. I think they went up-tempo the whole first half. Nick Chubb, what can you say? This young man comes in and runs the ball 38 times. It's unbelievable. I think the offensive line dominated the game. And Hudson Mason, I was very impressed. I thought he was accurate. I thought he was efficient. You just saw the corner ball he threw to Michael Bennett in the end zone for a touchdown. I really liked his decision-making. I thought collectively as a group, Georgia's offense was off the chart on the road without Todd Gurley.
Yeah, remarkable, right? And then defensively, they hold Missouri to 147 yards. It's the first time, by the way, Georgia has ever shut out a ranked team on the road, ever. What impressed you most about the defense?
Well, first of all, the secondary is the most maligned group on the team.
Yeah.
And you know they hear it, Dari, they go out of their dorm room, they're hearing it, they read it on social media. They played with a chip on their shoulder, I thought, Saturday, because the strength of the team has been the front seven. And they played really, really well, too. I mean, they were all over Matty Mock, chased him all around the park. But they held them to 97 yards passing, 4 picks, and a fumble. That's 5 turnovers. I just thought, without question, collectively, as a team, offense and defense, it was unbelievable. But that Georgia defense literally smothered them and just put them out.
Arkansas looking for their first win in SEC play, but Blake Sims pulls out the victory in the fourth quarter. They had to overcome a deficit to get the win, but the Razorbacks unable to finish out with a victory. But this means that Arkansas has lost 15 straight SEC games, the longest active conference losing streak for any team in the country. But the Hogs, they are improving. I think we see that every single week. They've held a fourth quarter lead 4 times in their last 5 SEC games and even took 2 into overtime before eventually falling.
I think as a head coach, you carry the weight of the world, which I love. I signed up for it. I do it. I do think that because you get around your players, you're just around them that much more. You know their roster. You know that. That's what gets me excited. I'm pissed, yes, but I'm also very excited because of the growth that we've had, and I know what we're going to be able to do.
Just in case you didn't know it, the SEC West is now 26-0 against everybody else. So it got us thinking, will they ever lose? Well, ESPN's Football Power Index thinks the best chance for any West team to lose any game this season will definitely be on Saturday. Now, that's when Georgia visits Arkansas. The FPI gives the Dogs a 62% chance to beat the Hogs.
They were just fine without him Saturday, but Todd Gurley is back at practice for Georgia. That doesn't mean anything, though, when it comes to his playing status after he was suspended while the university investigates whether he broke NCAA rules by accepting money for autographs, memorabilia, or the use of his likeness. He sat out the win over Missouri this past Saturday, didn't make the trip, but his replacement, Nick Chubb, ran for 143 yards on 38 carries. Tuesday in Athens, Dogs head coach Mark Richt addressed what he knows or doesn't know as far as Todd Gurley is concerned.
Well, I'll answer that like I'm answering any Gurley questions now. I really don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I just don't have any answer for that. I don't know. If there's something worthy of reporting, we'll report it. But other than that, we're just, we're focusing on things that we can control right now. Our game plan won't change. Last year Todd had a high ankle sprain. Last year Keith Marshall tore his ACL, unfortunately. But we didn't change our offensive scheme. We're not going to do that. You may call certain plays more or less depending on your personnel and all that, but we're not going to change philosophically or systematically, we're not going to just say, well, we got to make a bunch of wholesale changes. We don't need to. Coach Bielema is really putting together a very fine football team. All you got to do is turn on the film to see that these guys are getting coached, that these guys are playing hard, that these guys are, got a lot of ability. Just looking at their body types, you can tell they had a great off season. Just physically, I've never been to Little Rock that I can remember as far as to play a football game, and so I'm kind of interested to see how that goes. From what Coach Rocker let us all know, that it's not as big of a place as at their home stadium, but it's very, very spirited, and so we got to be ready for a hostile environment there, and looking forward to the challenge. I'm going to start out talking about their offense a little bit. They're number one in the league in time of possession, and sometimes time of possession is not a real important stat, with a lot of people going speed and up tempo and all that kind of thing. But the way they run the football and really impose their will on defenses that they're playing against, it's kind of a big part of what they do. And they're number one in the league in rushing yards per game. They're number 4 in the league in scoring. We want to get them in a position where they have to throw the football. That's our goal. Our goal is to win first down, whether it's run or pass. But our goal is to not let a running game run wild. And if you can't stop the run, you're in huge trouble. The play action pass is so much more effective against you. You can't really, if you know every time the ball is being snapped, it could be run, it could be pass. The percentage are like 50-50. It's hard to defend that. But if you get them into third and long, then they may run a draw or a screen or something, but you can probably rally and tackle a guy before a first down, and so you could take a little more chance on how you come after a guy. But yeah, it's huge for us to try to stop or at least slow down the running game of everybody we play. We at least went through camp running the football, with a lot of, we're pretty similar in a lot of ways as far as how we go about our business. So I don't think our style is going to shock them or their style is going to shock us. It's just going to be a matter of two very physical teams wanting to see who's tougher, probably. That's probably going to be a big part of it.
All right, bring it back in. Coach Chizik, 0-3 in SEC play. The 15 conference losses in a row. Yeah, it's easy, right? Georgia just moves on to the next one?
Don't let it fool you. Don't let it
How scary is this Razorbacks team for the Bulldogs?
Well, I think they're one of the most dangerous teams in the league, Peter. And again, Mark Richt might not know the status of Todd Gurley, but he knows the status of Arkansas and Little Rock, and it's a dangerous one. If you ask any coach in the league at this point, they're going to tell you that's the game they don't want to play. This team, to me, is ascending. Everybody's going to look and point towards the 0-15 in the last SEC games, but the reality of it is they're going to break in on somebody with a win. They got to learn how to win. But their defense is, everybody talks about the offense and the running game, and that's well noted, and you should talk about it. This defense, I'm telling you, watch out for it, because Georgia,
Alabama, right?
Absolutely. Held Alabama to 66 yards rushing, which is extremely difficult to do. Took the best receiver in the game today in college football out of the game. 2 catches for 22 yards. They play extremely excited. They play with a lot of passion. They will hit you. That was a physical game the other day. So Mark knows what he's in for when he goes to Little Rock. This is going to be a physical challenge.
Dari was on radio earlier this week, and he says when Arkansas busts through the door, they're going to bust through hard.
Big.
Okay,
Big.
So with that being said, no Gurley. We said no problem, but you just keep the same game plan going with Nick Chubb. But that was 40-some-odd touches, Coach.
Yeah, I know. Well, Georgia's not going to change what they do. I think if you listen to Mark in the press conference, he'll tell you they're not going to change what they do. But here's the thing. Can Nick Chubb do that again? This is going to be much taller order than it was last week with the way this defense plays, particularly the front seven. It's going to really come down to how physical and how well the offensive line blocks. They did a great job against Missouri last week. They up-tempoed them. I thought they physically wore them out in the first half of the game. The other thing that's going to be key is if they stop that running game, if they stop Nick Chubb, then Chris Connolly's got to come through. Michael Bennett's got to come through. Malcolm Mitchell, all those guys. And then Hudson Mason's going to have to be as accurate and as efficient as he was last week.
We've talked Auburn, we talked Alabama, all of Mississippi, the Magnolia State. But you look at the East, Georgia's right in the thick of everything, right?
They are. They're right in the thick of it. And this is going to be a huge, huge test for them in terms of where they go from here, because they're right in the middle of it. They got all their dreams, all their aspirations right in front of them. They're playing at a high level. They shut that Missouri team out last week. It's the first time that's happened in 11 or 12 years, so they're playing well all the way around.
Georgia, that was the first shutout they've had against a ranked opponent since 1982.
And speaking of those Razorbacks, they host number 10 Georgia this weekend. SEC West teams are 26-0 against everyone outside of their division. So does the streak come to an end this week?
I think it does. Todd, you're gonna laugh at me now.
Okay.
You're gonna so laugh at me. Arkansas beats Georgia. Arkansas beats Georgia. Arkansas had Alabama beat. Arkansas was going in for a touchdown that would have been the winning points, and it was knocked out of the runner's hand inches before the goal line, and it fumbled out of the end zone for a touchback. That's a touchdown that was right there to be had in a game that Alabama won by 1 point. I think Arkansas is ready.
I'm not laughing. I'm not going to go with your side in this game, but I am not laughing at all. I think Arkansas continues to get better. I think Brett Bielema is doing a really good job coaching to the strength of this team, really on both sides of the ball. But I'm more impressed with Georgia now than I was a week ago, obviously. I mean, they had probably their best performance beginning to end of the season. But the way they were able to kind of ignore everything with Todd Gurley, go out there, run the football, get some balance, and especially on defense. I think this defense is finally starting to come together. I think they're a swarming unit up front. There's a lot of speed, and it'll be interesting to see if they can use that speed and quickness to get into gaps and to slow down that rushing attack for Arkansas. I'm going to take Georgia in this one, but I don't think it's that big of an upset if Arkansas wins.
Well, hang on.
Yes, sir.
Georgia beating Missouri makes Georgia at least as good as Indiana, who also beat Missouri.
I got it.
So I don't know that Missouri's the benchmark, you know.
And we can play that game with a lot of wins for different teams this year. But I thought it was impressive the way they responded in a week where everyone was concerned that they weren't a big favorite in that game, even though Missouri hasn't been great. You lose Todd Gurley, and everyone thought that things would come unhinged, and that was not the case at all.
The next up, Arkansas. All right, 2015 Arkansas Razorbacks. They got a little interesting wrinkle, huh? Tough little stretch, playing 3 straight games away from Fayetteville. You get A&M up in Arlington, then head up to Knoxville, and then down to Tuscaloosa, as we were just talking about that. The Crimson Tide hosting the Arkansas Razorbacks. That was a heck of a game last week, wasn't it? All right. When you look at it, Coach Chizik, what do you like out of the schedule?
Well, again, I think the first 3 weeks are really, really doable. I think this is a good setup for them again, because I think that's a great confidence builder. It was this year because it's 2 different kind of teams. But if you look right now, again, look at their bye week. That Auburn game is going to be a critical game for them late October. They got a bye week after Alabama before they play Auburn. That's going to be huge. Again, the tough part of their schedule to me comes at the beginning of November when you're looking at Ole Miss, LSU, and, of course, Mississippi State. That's going to be a rough one for them.
Another big mystery is Georgia. I mean, we don't know about Todd Gurley. We're going to find out probably tomorrow or maybe tomorrow. Mark Richt isn't so sure about what his future holds at Georgia. But they go into Mizzou, and they clobbered Missouri last week with Nick Chubb. It just goes to show you the depth of that backfield. And they may be getting Michelle. They may be getting Marshall back healthy. So they're only going to get better. Are they for real now? Are they still the team to beat him without Gurley in the East?
No. No, they're not.
Who is they?
Well, listen, I like Kentucky. Any team out of the East can win. Okay,
so Georgia's going to go to Kentucky in 3 weeks and
win. You like Kentucky better than Georgia?
I think Kentucky's a more complete team than Georgia. I honestly do.
Wow. Okay.
And here's the reason why. Their quarterback is playing at a pretty high level, and they're pretty stout on defense. Georgia's going to go to Arkansas, and they're going to face that defense that just played Alabama, and we saw what they did to Alabama, right? We've seen what they did to Texas A&M. Arkansas is going to win this football game, and we're finally going to have put to rest that every single team in the SEC West, maybe outside of LSU, could beat any team in the SEC East.
That game, by
Georgia's going to beat Arkansas this weekend. Getting Malcolm Mitchell back on the outside, I thought was huge. We know about the depth that they have at running back. They're going to be getting Justin Scott Wesley back on the outside as well. Get those targets, but more importantly,
Jonathan Rumph. I don't know if he'll be back,
but more importantly for me is the defense. The defense for Georgia, I think, is starting to play the way that we expect these guys to play.
I just think about that.
And it's a Jeremy Pruitt thing again. I mean, we saw them earlier in the season. Obviously, a lot of young guys in the secondary that have been playing very erratically, inconsistently over the last couple of years, but they're really starting to come around. Missouri only put up 280 yards against South Carolina, so it's not a great offense, but I think this defense for Georgia is for real, and I think people need to consider Georgia. They need to start thinking about Georgia for the nationals or for the playoff.
With one loss, they went out.
Absolutely.
It's not laughable. Don't undersell Arkansas's defense, putting pressure on Hudson Mason.
They win one
and
game.
2 yards per carry that Alabama had this
one
last
game
weekend.
against Missouri.
I'm a college football analyst. I'm analyzing. I'm projecting.
The news today from Athens on Todd Gurley, there is none. According to the school, there is no news at this time, nothing new, and no further comment necessary. Last week, no Gurley, no problem, as the Georgia Bulldogs spanked the Missouri Tigers 34-0. But make no mistake about it, the Bulldogs would much rather have that Heisman Trophy hopeful back on the field. Alas, looks like he'll miss yet another game with his eligibility status being determined. Former Bulldog legend and Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker has some thoughts on Gurley, as well as who he didn't vote for in last year's Heisman.
Well, the situation at Jamie, before he won the award, that was an accusation of sexual assault. Well, forgive me for saying this, I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for him because it had nothing to do with him on the field. I thought when I won the Heisman, I hope it stood more than just for me playing football. I hope it stood for me being a person, how I did in school, of me being an athlete, because being an athlete is more than just playing the game. Being an athlete is doing a lot more. And I didn't vote for Jamie because of that, and I may have been wrong for that. But in my opinion, the Heisman supposed to mean integrity. Well, at that time, there was not integrity because of the situation that happened that he was facing at that time. Till his act is cleaned up, I can't give him my vote. And I will say it right now. I don't know whether I can say it right now. I can't give him my vote. Situation same with Todd Gurley. Right at this moment today, I can't give him my vote. Now, if he comes back and I see a change, then that vote can be there. But at this given time today, I can't give him my vote.
I'll tell you what, that was good stuff on the Feinbaum show earlier today. When Herschel Walker talks, people listen. So what did you think about that? Saying it's not just on the field, Greg, it's off the field as well.
I completely agree with everything he said. It's everything about being a college athlete. There's so much more than just actually playing the game. It's about being a good representation, representing your school the right way, representing your family the right way. And I certainly agree that all these things off the field should certainly play an impact as to how these voters actually do send out their votes.
All right, but let's talk about on the field right now. We got an unbelievable matchup. You talk about 0-3 teams. You're thinking some of these teams look like 0-3. The Arkansas Razorbacks don't. So how scary of a game is this for the Georgia Bulldogs?
Well, they better bring it. They better bring it. In Little Rock, Arkansas is going to be ready to go. This is going to be a tremendous game. One of the games that I feel like could very well be one of the upset specials of the weekend. Georgia looked fantastic last week, but every time we start to look at Georgia as being one of those dominant programs, look at after the Clemson game, a huge win, a great second half performance, come out against South Carolina as a 10-point favorite, lay an egg, lose the game. This same situation looked fantastic a week ago in Columbia. What's going to happen on Saturday?
All right, so I got to ask you, no Todd Gurley, it was no problem, right? Can Nick Chubb do it again? What was it, 40 some odd touches? That's the football's not that heavy, but that's a lot of carries.
That's a lot of carries. That's a lot of carries. Only 2 freshmen ever, well, I guess in the last several years, have ever carried it more. Arian Foster in 2005 had 40 carries, and Marcus Lattimore in 2010 had 40 carries. Both games were huge performances. Nick Chubb a week ago, 38 carries. They're going to have to find a way to get Brendan Ducklands a little more work. It's a long season, and with a young player like that, you have to wonder and just see how physically mature his body is to be able to handle that kind of workload.
Go ahead and hit us up on Twitter right now using hashtag SECversus, because this is one of the ones that we had earlier before on the show. We were talking about it. Arkansas, they're going to have to try to run the ball themselves. They do a pretty good job of it. But Jeremy Pruitt and that Georgia Bulldogs defense, that's a matchup that people want to see. Who's got the upper hand there?
Well, you have to go with what Arkansas has done offensively, I would have to give the slight advantage to that offensive line.
Okay.
And it's tough to say that because this group has been so dominant. You look last week, not as dominant against Alabama. A lot of that was self-inflicted mistakes. They didn't exactly hold up on the line of scrimmage the way a lot of people expected them to. But this team has been dominant against just about every single team they've played. Georgia's a very good football team. Jerry Pruitt's done wonders with what they're doing defensively, but you have to look at Arkansas and say they have a sizable advantage on the offensive line, and that's going to be incredibly difficult for the Bulldogs to overcome.
Georgia, a dark horse college playoff team?
No, they're not a dark horse. They're in the forefront.
Really?
They control their own destiny. They win out. They go finish the regular season 11-1 with a win against Auburn, with a win against Arkansas. All those games they still have left on the schedule. They win the SEC. They're going to be 12-1, and they will, without question, represent this conference in the college football playoff. I think there's a real possibility the SEC is going to have 2 representatives in this college football playoff. It's a very real possibility.
3 or 4. That would be perfect for me.
4.
All right, as the Hogs prepare for the big matchup with Georgia, Arkansas needs to clean up a few of those little mistakes that have cost them oh so dearly those last few games. That subject brought a little bit of emotion out of Coach Brett Bielema after that 1-point loss against Alabama.
I feel like a guy that is put in all this and sees all these things and know the blueprint that works, and you begin to see it happen, but we got to go fix this wall here, and we got to go make an adjustment here, and it's getting frustrating. I get it, man, but we're in here for the long haul. I am, and the part that kills me is for my players, my players, their families, because they are winners. I can't give them a W, but what they're doing in the classroom, off the field, and they're getting frustrated. It is very frustrating. It's frustrating for me. But I would probably be one of those guys going off in here and being belligerent if I didn't love what I was around, if I didn't love the environment I was in. And I don't mean to give you a long answer, but I appreciate everybody for sticking with us because it's going to be awesome.
They are so close. They are so close. The Arkansas Razorbacks, another near victory just a week ago. This team, I picked out a few plays against the Alabama Crimson Tide to show you just how close they are. Brett Bielema is certainly on to something. Everyone's going to remember this play. It's the obvious look. It's the perfect play call. You slip the fullback into the flat. You have a touchdown here. You have a touchdown here. Just secure the football. As a result, the ball bounces out of the back of the end zone, touchback, going the other way. The Alabama Crimson Tide now have possession. A critical mistake in the red zone, a mistake that you just can't make against top quality competition that you see week in and week out in the SEC. In this exact play, I want you to look at the situation. 3rd and 6. All right? A very critical time early in the first quarter. Important to get points on the board. You're at the top of the red zone. 3rd and 6. Make it more manageable for your field goal kicker at the very worst. 2 things you can't do: overthrow a wide receiver, and you cannot take a sack in this situation to potentially knock your kicker out. So watch the progression here. He sees one-on-one, which I'm fine with. Brandon Allen sees the one-on-one at the top, and he sees all this room, space. Nothing wrong with that at all. On first down. On 3rd and 6, let's keep the chains rolling. So I want you to look at the shallow cross route coming underneath and how easily this play could have potentially turned into a big play. I'm not sure he doesn't score. Just manage the game, Brandon. Take what the defense gives you. Don't get overwhelmingly aggressive. And at the very worst, even if the receiver gets tackled, you have an opportunity to potentially kick a little bit easier, more manageable field goal. You can see right here another terrific play call. Outstanding stuff. The throwback. You can see Hunter Henry behind the defense. Way behind the defense. A touchdown, a walk-in if you put the ball and hit him in stride. Instead, the ball is underthrown, allows Reggie Ragland, the linebacker at Alabama, to come in. And yes, they did get a flag. Yes, it was a pass interference. But touchdowns are much more beneficial to an offense's cause than 15-yard penalties. And everyone's going to look at the defense. The 2 missed opportunities on interceptions. You can see right here, Blake Sims throws you a ball on one of the first drives of the game. You have to secure that. You're going to have the ball going in a tight game. Those are the plays you have to make. And then this one, O.J. Howard just made a big play, ran down the field after a nice catch and run. And you can see they need a defense. They need someone to step up. Trey Flowers does just that. Oh, no. What is this? Is that a flag? Yes, horse collar. Now it's instead of 2nd and 12 outside the red zone, you're looking at a 1st and 10 from the 10-yard line. And then finally, the last play that's just going to kill you. Amari Cooper messes up. He doesn't cross face of the safety. The safety does a great job jumping in front of it. Secure the interception. These are the small little mistakes that have happened and kind of plagued this Arkansas Razorbacks team, but they are oh so close. So the Georgia Bulldogs better be ready to roll on Saturday.
Hudson Mason, we got to bring him up in this list. All right, you say it. It's good, trending upwards for him, especially after that last game in the shutout for the Bulldogs against Missouri. But that was defense. So you buying, selling, or holding Hudson Mason?
I'm buying. Now with Todd Gurley being out, he is going to have to play his best football. And you look at what he did, and I know his numbers aren't huge, but this guy's completing over 70% of his passes. He has his team in control of their own destiny. And honestly, when you look at what he was in the one loss, oftentimes you can point the finger at the quarterback in losses. In his one loss, he posted a quarterback rating 30 points higher than that of his season average. So it certainly wasn't because of him. He has been playing well of late, especially against Missouri. You look at the Tennessee game, had a couple poor decisions, but the way he's managed the game, limited turnovers, and he's exactly what this Georgia football team needs. I don't think he gets nearly enough credit, especially with what he does at the line of scrimmage.
Well, there you go, kids. Empty the 401k with a suit that nice. You gotta respect the stockbroker that Greg McElroy is, huh? Brad Keasley's UGA linebackers, Arkansas running back. That is the key matchup they want to see. Hashtag Go Dogs. And Brian in here says UGA shows more than one dog team again. Chubb for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mason 200 yards. D is going to be good for 7. Greg McElroy, what day is it?
Today's Thursday.
That is Thursday.
Yeah.
What do we normally do on these shows?
We have a lot of fun.
That would be one.
We talk about the SEC and how great it is and how it's by far the best conference.
And then we do SEC props.
Yes.
You ready to do with that one?
Yeah.
All right, first one, Nick Chubb carries versus Brandon Allen pass attempts. Which one's bigger?
This is actually a lot tougher than you realize, but I have a feeling that Nick Chubb's going to get a heavy bulk again. Not quite 38, but I expect him to have more carries than Brandon Allen does pass attempts. Brandon Allen last week, 40-plus attempts.
Threw the ball.
It's impressive. This game is going to be really close. I expect it to both teams to try to establish the line of scrimmage, run the football. I don't expect a ton of pass attempts out of both Hudson Mason or Brandon Allen.
Well, David, you've been talking about the difference between the SEC East and the SEC West. There are some big games this week. We need to take a look at those, of course, served up by Outback Steakhouse. The SEC West is 26-0 this season against teams outside the division. Tomorrow features 3 SEC East teams playing West teams as Arkansas hosts Georgia, Tennessee travels to Ole Miss, and Kentucky travels to Death Valley to face LSU.
So we got some SEC East, SEC West showdowns.
Yep. We do.
I like that.
So, David, are you buying Georgia as the SEC favorite even without Gurley?
I don't know if there is an SEC East favorite. I think you have to pick one, and if I had to pick one, I think I might pick Georgia. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to hitch my wagon to them because if you look at their defense, though, the one thing I'll say is they're much improved. And in those first 2 games, they had some big holes. The one thing I've been very impressed with Jeremy Pruitt is they've made some adjustments. They got different starting lineups. The secondary is still a liability, and whoever they play, I think when they can pass the ball, they can protect up front because the thing is Jordan Jenkins is playing really well for them. Floyd's playing well. And I still think they're going to run the football without it. So, yeah, if I have to pick one, I think Georgia would be in the East because their offensive line is so much better. Mason's starting to play a little bit better, and so is the defense.
I think it's tough to pick Georgia without Gurley because I just can't hitch my wagon to Nick Chubb, carrying the ball 38 times a game. That was last week. That's a heavy load to carry in the SEC. So I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain that type of productivity.
But then it's like, who else?
Week in and week out.
Who else are we going to pick? I mean,
maybe. An interesting pick may be the Gators.
Gators, yeah.
Maybe the Gators.
Missouri this
Harris,
week.
Yeah, Treon Harris coming back, and I think obviously he's an upgrade from Jeff Driscoll. We know their defense is stout, and they're going to play great defense. If they get a guy who can give them a spark on offense, I think actually without Gurley, they may be able to beat Georgia. So I think that game is going to be really interesting when those 2 teams meet.
No Todd Gurley as Georgia traveled to Little Rock. Gurley's suspension still in effect as the university continues to investigate whether he broke NCAA rules by accepting money for autographs, souvenirs, or the use of his likeness. To Little Rock we go and find Laura Rutledge, who's on the call on SEC Network. She'll be down on the sidelines as Arkansas hosts Georgia. And no Todd Gurley. He didn't make his way to Arkansas's capital city. We know that. So what's Mark Richt saying now, Laura, about the status of Gurley and how they have prepared without him?
Well, Dari, as far as Mark Richt is concerned with the Gurley situation, he said there's no update at this point into the investigation about the autograph signing. So they've planned to be without him. And I don't think there was anybody in Athens, as far as that Georgia staff is concerned, that thought Gurley was actually going to play this week. So they had plenty of time to prepare without him. And we saw against Missouri, Nick Chubb isn't a slouch.
No.
In fact, he carried the ball 38 times. He was able to do so much for them and really use that ground game to give them the win over Missouri. So Coach Richt saying more of the same against Arkansas. They expect to rely heavily on Chubb. And this week in practice, Chubb came out with fresh legs, acted like that 38 carry game never happened, which is exactly what you want to see from a coaching perspective. And they're going to rely on him heavily.
Sunday morning may have been rough, though. My hunch would be after those 38 carries. We know they're both going to run. I mean, that's what they want to do, and we certainly know that from Arkansas's perspective. Each team you have to feel is going to have to take the occasional shot in the passing game. Who do you feel like might have a better shot, and where might we be looking, Laura?
Well, Dari, I think that Georgia may have a slight edge as far as the passing game goes. And like you said, this game is going to be full of running the football on either side. So you're going to have to see, whoever can make those big plays, they'll probably come out with the win. And I think Hudson Mason and his receivers have a slight edge over the Arkansas group. Hudson Mason is a guy that the Georgia coaching staff has continually asked to take that next step. They want him to just go out there, have fun, stop being such a perfectionist. They feel like the Missouri game was a huge confidence builder for him. So I expect to see him air it out just a little bit more in this game. And Malcolm Mitchell, one of his favorite targets, is finally back. He is shaking off some rust. They feel like his route running isn't quite where they want it to be, but he's a guy that has so much raw skill and ability. I think you're going to see him be even better in this game than what we saw against Missouri, and I would give Georgia the slight edge there.
Laura, as Arkansas enters Little Rock, there's a lot of excitement around this team. We know that. They were so close against A&M. They were so close against Alabama last week. How close does it feel like this team is to breaking through and getting a big SEC win?
Well, this Arkansas team feels they're very close. And I say team as a whole because it's the coaching staff and it starts with Brett Bielema. But they say the players have bought in as well and they believe they can win. And Coach Bielema is saying you don't get that close to winning those games unless you believe you can do it going into it. So that's a big part of the culture that's going on with this team right now. And Coach Bielema telling us he's actually excited to play Georgia. He said that might sound crazy, but he feels they're so close to that SEC win that he gets excited every time they have another chance to prove themselves. And he said, look, I'm about 1 year away. If I can just get the development, continue the recruiting efforts, I feel like I'll be really close to getting the team that I want. But he says even this year, they think they can do it.
Now, they've got a huge chance to alter the race in the SEC East in Little Rock on Saturday, and that's where we will see you, Laura Rutledge. Good talking to you, Laura.
Next SEC Saturday, because we know where the SEC West is, the best division in all of sports, even Arkansas. Arkansas has lost 15 straight SEC games, but yet would you want to go up against Arkansas? Georgia's going to have to go up against Arkansas. So here's a golden opportunity for the SEC West to really show where they stand over the SEC East if your bottom of the barrel team can take out the top dogs.
Well, this is a huge game for Arkansas. This is also a huge game for Georgia to stay on top in the East. But if you're Arkansas, you are dying for that big-time win. I think they have been so close week after week. And the way they played last week against Alabama, I was very impressed because they went toe-to-toe with one of the most talented teams in college football, and they did not back down, and they did not flinch. They just need to make a few more plays in the fourth quarter, and this team can be really dominant.
You just feel like it's here. You feel like I have a feeling that this is the week Arkansas may get over that hump. Look, Georgia and Arkansas 1, Georgia 2 in rushing. We saw Arkansas's defense stifle Alabama last weekend. I think that gives them the advantage in this game. We know they'll be able to run the football. So hopefully what will happen is if they get into that fourth quarter situation, they'll make the play they need to make in order to get a victory.
This has been going on since last November, going up against great teams and being right there. Remember, they finished up last year so strong against Mississippi State. Mississippi State had Damian Williams in then. He had the 25-yard touchdown run in overtime, and it took Calhoun to get an interception to end the game. It was 24-17 in overtime. This is when Arkansas was just starting to crest up. And then the following week, LSU, Brandon Allen to Hunter Henry. They were up 27-21. It took a minor miracle from Anthony Jennings to Doral, and LSU won 31-27. Or to this year, when 3 weeks ago it looked like they would have their breakthrough moment against Texas A&M. Great call, Sam Irwin-Hill, the punter, and he would take this 50-plus. They were up by 14 in the fourth, but Kenny Hill to Josh Reynolds that tied it, and then Malcolm Kennedy to win it in overtime, 35-28. Last week, Alabama, there in Fayetteville. A.J. Derby, the former quarterback playing tight end, he goes 54 yards
Making a play.
for leading Bama 13-7. Blake Sims, touchdown pass 14-13, and then Landon Collins seals it there. A blocked PAT, the difference in the game against Alabama. This Georgia offense now without Todd Gurley. Nick Chubb looked good, had a big workload last week against Missouri. Now another week without Gurley going up against this Arkansas defense.
I like their game plan last week, getting Nick Chubb the ball and also getting it out of Hudson Mason's hands quicks. Screens, bubble passes, getting their backs in space, getting short crossing routes. And also Malcolm Mitchell being back was very helpful for Georgia as well last week. And you look at Hudson Mason, he was very consistent. He was 22 of 28 for 156 yards. That is something that he has to continue to do. But I think Arkansas is going to put more pressure on him where he's going to have to throw the ball down the field.
Like we said earlier, look, this Arkansas team played really good defense last week. Georgia lined up against Missouri and was able to do whatever they wanted to do in the run game. I don't think that'll be the case. I think this finally comes down to the game where Hudson Mason will have to make some plays downfield in order to put his team in position to win the football game. This Arkansas defense and Arkansas team is going to be scratching and clawing to get a victory. Georgia needs to play really well in order to beat this football team this weekend.
Final game to pick, guys. Little Rock is the site. Arkansas, who's been so close, blowing the fourth quarter lead against A&M, having 11 points at least left on the field against Alabama. They host Georgia. The East has not beaten the West in a game all year. FPI, Football Power Index, says this is their best chance. Give us a winner and a score.
I like the Arkansas Razorbacks. 31-28 to win in Little Rock. The reason why this team is so close, Brett Bielema can feel it, the team can feel it, and every time we start to fall in love with Georgia, they let us down. So this Arkansas Razorbacks finally get their first SEC win.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
You don't get
Georgia, 35-17. The Georgia run defense is ranked second in the conference, and for that reason and that reason alone, they'll stop the Arkansas offense. Big win for the Dogs.
You imagine if Arkansas does win this game? The folks that go to all the games in Fayetteville, they'll be like, okay, that's cool, but really, Little Rock? You had to go down there and get it?
We'll see what happens with the Cowboys. All right, over in the SEC, let's focus on Georgia and Arkansas. Bulldogs played great. Mark Richt's team without Todd Gurley, 34-0 over Missouri. Take your pick in this one.
Well, the last two picks upset was hoping this was going to happen. Arkansas upsets them.
Wow.
And I want to tell you why Arkansas is going to upset them. Ladies and gentlemen, Arkansas is becoming a very good, sound defensive football team fundamentally. And the way they played Alabama, it wasn't a fluke. They're very good fundamentally. I look at them, the shoulders are squared. They run the ball. They'll be able to move the football. They will upset it. Plus, they're playing at Arkansas, Mark. That's a big advantage.
I agree with you. I'm picking Arkansas, and it shouldn't be an upset. The way they can run the ball with Alex Collins, Jonathan Williams, each of them average over 6 yards per carry. That big offensive line averages 6'4", 325 pounds. It's a downhill running football team. And you're right about the defense. They held Alabama to 66 yards rushing on 22 carries. That's not Alabama football, but that is great Arkansas defense.
Alabama had that narrow 14-13 victory over Arkansas as Brett Bielema's team certainly made things interesting against Nick Saban and company.
Georgia last week went to Mizzou, and they just blew them out. Shut them out 34-zip in Columbia. Missouri was held to 147 yards of offense, second fewest since joining the SEC. Missouri ranges 4 plays in Georgia territory. 3 of them were turnovers. Georgia won the time of possession battle 42-18. Now, Georgia heads to War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. 83rd consecutive year the Hogs have played in the state capital. First time Georgia and Arkansas meet in Little Rock. Of course, Arkansas has been so close. They got to break through. It's been 15 straight conference losses. How about last year, Mississippi State? Damian Williams, the touchdown run in overtime. And then the interception by Tevez Calhoun to end the game, and State won it 24-17. Arkansas was so close, just like they were the following week last year against LSU. Brandon Allen to Hunter Henry, 27-21 Arkansas. But then the last second drive, Anthony Jennings to Trayvon Durrell. LSU won it 31-27. How about 3 weeks ago? Arkansas, so close yet again. Texas A&M. They called the fake punt. I love this play call.
That's awesome.
Sam Irwin Hill. They led by 14 in the fourth quarter, did Arkansas. But Kenny Hill to Reynolds ties the game. Then in overtime, Kenny Hill to Malcolm Kennedy wins the game.
You got to finish.
Big Bad Bama came to Fayetteville last week. Arkansas was up for it. They said this is going to be the weekend. We're going to break through. A.J. Derby, a tight end, sped past the entire Bama defense. 13-7. But oh no, Bama comes back. Collins interception. And Coach Beaver
Not a
heartbreak again.
Great play.
The part that kills me is for my players, my players, their families, because they are winners. I can't give them a W, but they're getting frustrated. It is very frustrating. It's frustrating for me.
He feels so badly for his players. They put in the work. They're right there. You have great respect for what they're doing. You made the comment to us the other day. You said, listen, Arkansas is a top 25 team. Arkansas would compete at the very top of the Big Ten, you said.
No question. And they're number 19 in the FPI. And this team went toe-to-toe with Alabama, who I still think is one of the best teams in the country. They didn't flinch. They made plays. They just didn't make enough at crucial situations late in the game.
Arkansas is a contender to me. You look at these guys, and they've been in every football game. They could easily be 2-0 in the West right now, but they just have to find ways to win. We talked to Coach B last week, and he said, at the end of the game, I need to figure out how to get my guys over the hump. That's a few more plays. They're 1 or 2 plays away from being a top-tier team in college football.
They have to learn how to win. You as a team, even though you have talent, you still don't know how to win. This team has to learn how to win.
Right.
A few of their playmakers in fourth quarters, in big-time situations, in critical plays, got to step up, make plays to have game-winning plays. Because Alabama did that. Their 2 leaders did that. Landon Collins with the interception and Blake Sims on third down, making a play when nothing was there. That's how they won the game. They didn't out-execute Arkansas, but they made plays in critical situations. Because you won't always play your best. You have to have those players step up and make big-time plays.
Paul, what would they be in the SEC East?
I think they'd be playing Georgia today for the East Championship. I think it's on the line. They're better than everyone else other than perhaps Georgia, but we'll see today.
You mentioned the FPI, the Power Index 19th. They're 1 point better than Michigan State. Think about the way Michigan State is talked about with the college football playoff and the Big Ten championship. Arkansas on a neutral field would be favored over Michigan State, according to the Football Power Index. And Brett Bielema, you heard what he had to say about his players. He's getting ready for Georgia. He caught up with Laura Rutledge.
Coach, you're coming off a heartbreaking 1 point loss to Alabama, but you said you can't wait to play Georgia. Why is that?
Well, I think this crew that we've got takes every day for what it is. They get better every time we take the field. We've come a long way from where we were a year ago. Obviously, we want to win games, but it's a fun group to be around. I just can't express how much they need to have this win just because they've really worked for it.
Your defense goes against your run-heavy offense all week in practice. How does that help against a team like Georgia?
Well, I do think there's a lot of carryover from what we do in the spring to what we do in fall camp to what we do this week. We actually backed off on quite a bit this week just because we've had a pretty aggressive work week the last couple of weeks. And to play Georgia, we got to tackle efficiently. Obviously, got to take away their run game no matter who's lining up a tailback. They're a very good football team.
Your team excited behind you arriving here in Little Rock. Thanks, Coach.
Well, I think our guys know coming over here, we only get to do it once a year, and we're going to try to take the most advantage.
All right.
Thank you.
War Memorial Stadium, Arkansas has never won a home game against Georgia. 0-4 all time. Todd Gurley didn't travel with the team. Laura Rutledge gets us set.
10th-ranked Georgia will once again be without running back Todd Gurley as they take on Arkansas here in Little Rock. And Coach Mark Richt saying no updates in the investigation into his autograph signings at this point. So they're just in a wait-and-see game. Coach Richt also saying business as usual during practice this week. Of course, they will rely heavily on running back Nick Chubb to take a lot of the carries that Gurley would have had otherwise. And Arkansas, a team coming off a heartbreaking loss, 1-point loss to Alabama, but they're excited to take on Georgia. Coach Bielema is saying they can't wait for this chance. They can't wait to get out there and have another chance to prove themselves against an SEC team. He feels like this might be the week. So, of course, he's looking forward to it.
Thanks, Laura. Nick Chubb, 38 carries last week, 143 yards against Missouri. Most rushes by an SEC freshman since Marcus Lattimore in 2010.
I was about to say
most rushes by Georgia back
That's because
since
he was one of the
2001.
freaks of the week.
He was one of the OF's original freaks.
Yes.
Arkansas and Georgia ranked first and second in just about every rushing stat that we could find. Both the Hogs and the Dogs have scored 21 touchdowns on the ground this season. Best in the conference, third in the country. The SEC West. So here's one of those East-West matchups. And the SEC West is 26-0 against every non-SEC West team, including 4-0 against the SEC East. Here's the team that's perceived as the bottom of the SEC West going up against a team perceived as the top of the SEC East. And it's a competitive game. You think Arkansas's very much got a shot here.
It's absolutely a competitive game, and Georgia really needs to win this for the SEC East. And I think I've been impressed with how much they've improved over the last 2 weeks. And last week versus Missouri, I thought Coach Bobo had one of his best offensive game plans that he's had all year. You look at this tape right here, and you see what Missouri's giving up. They're to the boundary. They're playing off. So what do? They check to a now route. Get it out of Hudson Mason's hands right now. Okay, we got 2nd and 8. Georgia can live in 2nd and 8 because they're going to give it to their running backs. Here you got 3rd and 4. You got your corner playing off. You got your linebacker tucked in the box to stop the run. What do? You run a quick stick route. That's a nice and easy completion. By the way, Missouri can't play that type of defense in the SEC, or it will get ugly early and often. But here you see another 1st and 10. They only put 2 guys to the boundary. They have 3 receivers. That means they're going to have someone running in open space. They check to a bubble. They get it out right now. Here we go. Again, it's 2nd and 4. Georgia can live in those situations. They're getting it out of Hudson Mason's hands early. 40% of the time, Hudson Mason has thrown it at or behind the line of scrimmage. That's an unreal stat.
I look at this game and I have to go back to when Arkansas played Alabama. Amari Cooper, 2 catches. Every time he caught the ball, all over him. I look forward to seeing Arkansas run this football with their 2-headed monster. Georgia's been taken down to one guy. Losing Todd Gurley is huge in a game like this because you're trying to control the line of scrimmage, and it's 2 teams facing each other with a similar identity. So for Georgia, all you can count on is chubba.
To get to that point about how good they looked with Nick Chubb and without Todd Gurley, was that just one moment of getting up, or was that a season-changing mentality of galvanizing a team without your Heisman frontrunner?
I think it was an aberration. I think we'll find that out today. We'll talk about that. But Georgia is good, but I don't think they're as dominant as they look against Missouri.
And let me note that this Arkansas defense held Alabama to 66 total yards last week. So Georgia has their hands full trying to run this football, especially with Trey Flowers and Fowler up front.
I think Georgia's going to have to make some plays down the field because this Arkansas defense, they play an under quarter half. They don't do a lot defensively, but they play that front and that coverage a lot of the time, and they're going to take away, because they're playing cloud to the boundary, they're going to take away quick throws to the boundary. So if Georgia wants to have quick throws, it's got to be to the field, and Arkansas says, hey, we're going to rally and make the tackle.
And I thought you made an interesting point this week when you said to us, maybe we don't give enough credit to some of the individual talent on the Arkansas defense. Philon and Flowers, these are supremely talented guys.
Absolutely. A head coach this week in the SEC told me that Darius Philon is the most disruptive defensive lineman in the SEC.
Oh, that's a big statement.
That's a big statement.
So that game is on the
we
SEC.
got our boy Robert Cavici.
Man in this city.
Yeah, exactly. All right, perhaps somebody goes off course here and picks an upset because we saw how close Arkansas was to breaking through, but instead 15 straight conference losses now for the Hogs. They're in Little Rock taking on Georgia. Todd Gurley didn't travel with the team. Georgia at Arkansas.
This is a tough one because I think Georgia has a lot of talent, but I think Arkansas needs this win, and they are hungry for a win. And this is a physical team that will not flinch today. I think Arkansas wins.
I got beat up so bad on Twitter last week for picking Missouri to beat Georgia. And I'm telling you, I got tore up. But I'm doing it again. I think it's Arkansas's time. I think they finally get over the hump. The way they've been playing, I think they find a way at the end of this ball game to win the football game.
I'm trying to think what the hog chomp is.
Pig suey.
Razorbacks.
Razorbacks. All right, so today, you guys think today is the breakthrough day, and we'll make the SEC East even more wild and wide open if Georgia takes a loss here.
That's the Dogs and the Hogs. SEC West remains undefeated against all outside competition. This could potentially be the first loss by the West as Georgia comes in from the East in Little Rock, only game this season for the Hogs there. Of course, for Georgia, it is week 2 without start Todd Gurley. He is suspended. Georgia was an inspired, defiant team when they shut out Missouri on the road. Can they follow the same formula here again? Feed the freshman Nick Chubb and just rely on Hudson Mason to throw underneath routes. He throws the ball 4.2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage on average. That's very, very short. Very safe, though. Razorback middle linebacker Brooks Ellis is out. That could be a key as they try to slow down a physical running game. Bulldogs only about a field goal favorite at the moment. It's a 4-team race in the SEC East, so every game counts. Here's Laura Rutledge with Mark Richt.
Coach, Todd Gurley remains out this week. What's the latest into the investigation into his autograph signings?
Well, everybody's working on it, and we'll find out when we find out. We're just here to focus on this ball game right now, though.
Your stable of backs depleted with Gurley out, Keith Marshall out, Sony Michel out, but Nick Chubb has shown he's risen to the challenge, 38 carries against Missouri. What's your plan with Chubb dealing with that lack of depth at running back?
Well, it won't be probably a whole lot different than last week, and Brendan Douglas did a nice job. We also moved J.J. Green back to running back. He played there last year. He's been playing defensive back for us, and we, at least for this week, moved him back to running back, and he was happy to do that. Kyle Karampolis is with us, too, so we've got some backs.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, you're welcome.
Arkansas's had so many close calls in this losing streak recently. At Arlington, up 14 against A&M.
Game over.
Missed a field goal that could have clinched it. You knew it was going to go bad after that. He got tied. Bielema could not get a timeout here. He tried to get on the field. That's the field goal that could have sealed. Look at Bielema down there. He couldn't get the timeout call. And they scramble around and they throw a touchdown pass to tie the game. Rough stuff.
Yep.
Rough stuff. Is this a team ready to break through? We're a team that just doesn't know how to win. For questions like that, we go to our friend Tim Tebow, always beloved here in Tallahassee. Cue the booze for Tim. He's in Oxford in the beautiful Grove. And Tim, you got a chance to see that Razorback team. Are they ready to finally get a win, or is this a Georgia team that just employs the next man up philosophy and doing so very well? What's your take?
Well, I've been very impressed with this Arkansas team. This is an Arkansas team that went toe-to-toe with Alabama, one of the best teams in college football, and they did not flinch. Actually, I thought they were more impressive than Alabama was in that game. They just made a few mistakes in the second half is the reason that they lost. But you look at this Arkansas team defensively. They run an under quarter half. Really one defense. They do it, and they do it well. They have two really good defensive linemen in Trey Flowers and Darius Philon. An SEC head coach told me this week he thinks that Darius Philon is the most disruptive defensive lineman in the SEC. This Arkansas team is for real. You look on the offensive side of the ball, their offensive line is bigger than any NFL offensive line. They can run the ball, and Brandon Allen also has 10 touchdown passes to 2 interceptions. So this is a team with a lot of depth. They're getting better recruits, and they're a very, very physical team.
And I agree. I think their defense, it was impressive to watch them go toe-to-toe with Alabama last week. And even Texas Tech playing the spread offense, A&M playing the spread offense. They do a really good job. They're really disciplined. They're active. They fly around.
But
I think
can they win the game?
Absolutely, they can win the game. I think they're going to win this game. I think Georgia. Last week we talked about Nick Chubb filling in, and you talk about they looked like Gurley. It was 3.8 yards a carry. Gurley averages 8 yards a carry. There was a big difference. Now, he's a good back. He's a really good back. But I think you've seen the physicality from Arkansas. I think Arkansas finds a way to get their first SEC win of the season and since last season.
Boo in Athens.
This is a throwback. This is a throwback to Des, you and I era of the 90s. These style of offenses, they're the most productive.
The more boring ones you talking about?
Yeah. Hand it off, high formation, fullback dive, pound it, get physical, a couple play action passes. That's how we roll back in the 90s. But that's what you're going to see today between these two teams, low-scoring, hard-hitting type of games. Now, I want to see which quarterback is going to be able to provide enough balance, because you're going to have, I think, a lot of defenses kind of trying to take away that running game. I think Brandon Allen, Demetrius Wilson, one of his better receivers, came back last week. Nice vertical threat. I think they'll try to slow down Georgia from attacking the line of scrimmage, because let's face it, Des, if there's a weakness with Georgia still, if you can throw the football, and everybody's so caught up in Arkansas, and they're big and they're physical, and they are.
Right.
But they could make some plays today in their passing game, and I'm with David. I think the Hogs are going to be able to knock off Georgia.
I'm with you and David. I agree. I think the Hogs will. I think when you look at Georgia's offense, you look at the statistics, the quarterback, Hudson Mason, his average pass only goes 6.1 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's the fewest yards beyond for a quarterback in the Power 5, 6.1 yards. So, Arkansas is going to crowd the line. Nick Chubb is not Todd Gurley, 3.8 yards a carry. So, this guy, you can't hitch, to me, your team to Nick Chubb. I think that Arkansas is going to crowd the line of scrimmage. I think that Brandon Allen is going to play well, and I think their tight end, Hunter Henry. Watch Hunter Henry. This guy is great in blocking and as a receiver. I think he's going to be the difference maker, too, for Arkansas's offense.
You don't like Nick Chubb, man? I mean,
I like
38 carries last week? That was impressive.
Keep in mind, that was against Missouri.
I know.
And Missouri turned the ball over 5 times.
But you talked about that defensive front from Missouri being great.
Yeah, well, they were great at times, but that was not a good game. I mean, it's just football. You got to prove yourself week after week. They did not have a great game by no stretch of the imagination.
I think Georgia's defense, too, though. I think he's for real, too. I think Georgia's defense.
I didn't say he's not for real, but he's no Todd Gurley. Like, where you have to respect him. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
That's my point.
Well, nobody is.
So you see Arkansas, exactly. Yeah. And that's why they're going to lose.
Yeah, the Hudson Mason is the first time all year he's kind of taken over. I love some of his comments. Been sitting around on the bench not to lose to a team like Missouri. So he's trying to provide some leadership, a spark. I think going to Fayetteville is going to be tough, though.
Y'all all picked Missouri last week, too, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I thought their front forward played much better. Yeah. They let us down. Just like I picked TCU. They gave up 21 points.
24
in 11 minutes. Thank you, Horned Frogs.
You got a chance.
Dogs and the Hogs. Game of the century, apparently. Up here. For these guys. You guys are all over. Bielema is building, but you're all over a team that's lost 15 straight SEC games. Let's go to the Bear, Chris Felica. Are you going to make it a triple not so fast for Georgia?
Arkansas?
Correct.
I'll take the Dogs. Why not? You realize they're a really good rush defense, the best rush defense in the SEC. I'll go. I think everyone thinks this is a spot where Arkansas is going to get the win coming off the close loss last week. Eventually, they're going to break through. This might not be the one. Maybe later in the year, Ole Miss before the Egg Bowl. I think there are other spots in the year where they maybe pull it up. I think this is a too obvious of a game where a lot of people think it's going to happen.
Bear, let me ask you this.
Talk to me.
So are you saying that you like Georgia because everybody else likes Arkansas? Are you saying you like Georgia because...
I like Georgia. I think that's a factor, but I think Georgia on the field...
How is that a factor? I don't get that.
I think the emotion of it, when it looks too... It's kind of like the Vegas rule. When it looks too obvious, looks too good, usually it doesn't happen that way.
Okay, the Vegas rule.
But I think Georgia on the field defensively will do a good job against Arkansas today. I got the win.
Bielema would like to just say hallelujah. He's personally lost his first 11 SEC games as a coach. Now, he's a long way from the record. You realize that Heck Clark lost his first 36 SEC games. No Todd Gurley again. Wasn't a problem last week. Now it's Dogs at the Hogs, who are just desperate to get over the hump and snap a 15-game SEC skid.
The Hogs defense will stop Nick Chubb, and I think that the Hogs will win a close one. I got Arkansas.
Big Suey.
I'm going Georgia. I just think that those guys know how to win, and I think they've proven it.
Good pick. Foul ball. Good pick. I think Georgia by a field goal.
I think this will be the most physical game that we'll see the entire day. I think that Arkansas finally gets their first SEC win for Bielema. They've been close. Today they closed the door. I think they beat Georgia.
Good pick.
Well, Ken's hanging on with a 2-strike count for a while.
He's going on. And this football game is underway. Morgan approaches the ball, high end over end. It's going to drive Hatcher 8 yards deep in the end zone. He'll take a knee, and the Razorbacks will have it 1st and 10. Skipper, Tretola, Smothers, Kirkland, and Cook, the big Razorbacks up front. Toss sweep left side to Williams on 1st down. Jonathan inside the numbers across the 30, out to the 32-yard line. Williams on 1st down gets nearly 8. Football's on the right hash mark. Allen's in the shotgun. Brandon gets the snap, looks right. Now he's flush, rolling toward the sideline, going to run, cuts back upfield, dives for the 1st down marker, and he's got it. Allen needed 3, and that's exactly what he got. The nose of the football just across the 35, and that's a 1st down. 4 minutes gone in the opening quarter. Play action fake. Allen's going to throw, fires it over the middle, complete down at the 36-yard line. That's Hollister. Hollister, the sophomore, the transfer for 11 yards, and that's a 1st down. Allen under center, open field left, toss sweep, right side. College has it. Alex lowers his shoulder at the 1st down marker. He's got it to the 25. Cody Hollister caught a pass earlier in this possession. They toss it, give it to Williams, straight ahead. He's got room up the middle, inside the 15, spins down to the 10-yard line. They get 11, 1st and goal at the 10-yard line. Allen, toss sweep right side. Williams inside the numbers, cuts outside now at the 5, lowers his shoulder down to the 1-yard line. Shy of the goal line, but he gets 9, 2nd down and goal. Collins is the tailback. Toss sweep left side, touchdown Arkansas. Collins cut back. He was in easily, and the Razorbacks draw the early lead. 75 yards in 13 plays, and Brett Bielema could not have scripted a better beginning. Matt Emmerich gets the hold down. Kick is on the way. It is blocked by Georgia. Picked up. The Razorbacks will make the tackle at the 11-yard line, but the extra point is no good. High formation. The running back is Chubb. Mason, play fake. Mason's going to throw deep down the left sideline. He's got a man open at midfield. That's Conley into Razorback territory. Twin receiver split wide right. Play fake. Mason's going to throw again over the middle. Complete inside the 10-yard line. Tackled at the 7. 3rd goal. Georgia right to the line. Not wasting any time. Quarterback sneak. Mason at the goal line. Touchdown, Georgia. Play fake. Allen in trouble again. They've got him from behind back at the 32. Leonard Floyd, their defensive end, chased him down. They lose 13 yards. He gets the snap. Georgia sets up a return. High, short, wobbly kick over on the right side. Hits the 28. Takes a Georgia bounce. The Razorbacks touch it late in the 1st quarter. Georgia up 7-6. Mason wants to throw. Everybody's covered now. The Hogs have him from behind in the backfield. It'll only go in the books as a 1-yard loss. Football's on the right hash mark. Play clock still with 12 seconds to go. Mason gets the snap, steps into the pocket over the middle, complete, wide open at the 40. 1st down and 10, Georgia at the Razorback 14-yard line. Chubb, left side, hit the backfield, he'll lose yardage. The Razorbacks blew that one up. Martrell Spade out of North Little Rock for a 3-yard loss, and it's 2nd down and 13. Yeah, they're back at their own 18-yard line now. Mason in the shotgun. Fakes to Chubb, wants to throw, and they sack him from behind. 14:25 to play in the second quarter. Good snap, good hold. The kick's got the distance, and the kick is good. 2nd down and 10 at the Arkansas 43. The give to Chubb. He's got room inside the 35, inside the 30. Foot race at the 20. 10-5 touchdown, Georgia. Chubb goes 43 yards. In the last 15, he ran away from the defense. 1st and 10, 6:50 to play in the half. Bulldogs leading at 17-6. Chubb gets the call right side, lots of room. Inside the 40, inside the 30, inside the 20, and they'll drag him down at the 17. Football's at the Arkansas 12-yard line. Mason gonna throw, escapes the rush, fires it down underneath, complete at the 6-yard line. Near the 1st down marker, there's a flag back where Mason was hit. Bennett caught the pass. I think they're going to get Arkansas for a roughing penalty. That's a huge blow. Yeah. You said it well. He plays the run well, and Arkansas needs that today. He's got to go to the locker room.
Boy, that is something.
Arkansas defending at their goal line. Chubb is the tailback. Mason gives it to Chubb straight ahead into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia. Renze's the fullback. Alex Collins dots the I. Brandon Allen under center. Ball's on the ground. He pitched it to Collins. Georgia says they've got it down at the 7-yard line. They bring Mitchell in motion to the right side. Mason gets the snap, play fake, fires into the end zone, touchdown Bennett on a slant. Tell you what, when Nick Chubb builds up ahead of steam, he's hard to stop. Toss sweep, right side Williams. He's got room. Jonathan across the 35 to the 40. Keeps his feet inbounds across the 45 to the 48-yard line. They bring Wilson wide to the right side. That's into the boundaries. Cody Walker's the running back. Allen fakes a pitch to him. Now he'll throw it short to Derby. The tight end breaks a tackle inside the Georgia 45 down to the 43-yard line. 4th and 6. Allen gets the snap. Here comes the rush. Hit from the backside. Football's on the ground. Picked up by the Bulldogs. And that's going to go. Sanders is going to go. Dominic Sanders at the 20, at the 10, at the 5. Touchdown. Allen gets the snap, wants the slant over the middle, complete to Cornelius at midfield. Allen from the shotgun. Brandon gets a low snap, wants to throw, rolls to his right, fires complete to Cornelius at the 30. Jared cuts back inside the 25, down to the 20-yard line. Football's on the right hash mark, Twins to the left, a single man into the boundary. Allen gets the snap. Time this time, down over the middle into the end zone, intercepted in the back of the end zone. He overthrew Hunter Henry. 13-15 to play in the quarter. Georgia with a 38-6 halftime lead, the first possession for either side the third quarter. 3rd and 3 from the Razorback 32. Chubb hit the backfield, he'll lose yardage. Martrell Spate blew it up. A 2-yard loss on the play, back to the 34. Twins to the left side. Hogs at the line of scrimmage defensively. That gives to Chubb. He's near the first down marker. Inside the 30, down to the 29. It depends on the spot. The Hogs have held. Razorbacks are going to get the football back. They've got the fertile recruiting ground down there.
Yeah, they do.
He's from Tampa. Allen out of the shotgun. Slant pattern complete to Demetrius Wilson out of the 35. He'll get to the 38-yard line before they bring him down. Hogs first down at their own 44. 10:28 to play in the half. Out of the pistol. They give it on an end around to Demetrius Wilson. He's got room across midfield into Georgia territory. They'll run him out of bounds at the Bulldog 40-yard line.
That time, almost the same thing.
2nd down and 10. Hogs at the Georgia 24. They toss it to Jonathan Williams. He's got room right side, inside the 20. Waits on a blocker down near the 16. Out of bounds there. 6:37 to play in the third quarter. 2nd down and 8. Play clock's at 1. Allen gets the snap away. Slant over the middle. Hatcher. Touchdown, Arkansas. Keon caught it at the goal line. Held on 8 yards. And the Razorbacks score for the second time today. Georgia 2 for 5 on 3rd downs today. 5:27 to play in the third. Mason wants to throw over the middle, underneath, incomplete. Spade defending for Arkansas. He wanted his tight end, Jay Rome. 2 tight ends, Derby and Henry, both in the ballgame. Collins is the running back on 1st down. Play fake. Allen over the middle. Henry alone at the 20, complete. Inside the 15, down to the 10 to the 9-yard line. Hunter Henry finally tackled by Corey Moore. It's a 28-yard gain. That's 3:45 to play in the third. Allen from the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. Hawks pick it up over the middle. Caught by Henry at the 6. Down right away. A diving catch by Hunter. Williams is the tailback. Brett Bielema a screaming timeout. Didn't get it called. Allen trying to throw back. He's got a receiver open, and it is caught by Hunter Henry. Touchdown, Arkansas.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't get that timeout called.
35 seconds to play in the quarter. Bulldogs at their own 44-yard line. Hudson Mason gets the snap. Time to throw. Downfield incomplete. He overthrew Conley. Covered very well by Jarrett Collins.
Asking this crowd, which is loud, to calm down a little bit.
They give it to Jonathan Williams on a delay. Comes right side, cuts back. He'll get to the 18-yard line, maybe the 19. We'll call it a 4-yard gain. That's the end of the third quarter. Allen's in the shotgun. Flags are down. Brandon throws under duress. Incomplete. Intercepted in midfield by Sanders. 13-18 to play in the football game. Georgia with a 38-19 lead. Mason wants to throw. Pumps once. Now he's going deep down the left sideline. Has a man at the goal line. Complete to Conley. Touchdown, Georgia. Williams is the single setback. Allen's in the shotgun. Pumps once. Lofts it down over the middle. Complete at midfield to his tight end. That's Hunter Henry. Inside the 40. Inside the Georgia 35. Down to the 33-yard line. Henry open in the middle of the field for 34 yards and a first down. Razorbacks at the Georgia 33-yard line. 2nd down and 10. Allen to throw. Blitz on the way. High but complete at the 29-yard line. A 4-yard gain caught by Cody Hollister. 10:37 to play. Hogs driving toward the north end here at War Memorial. Over the middle. That pass complete. Down at the 5-yard line. Drew Morgan down to the 4 before they finally drive him to the turf. 18 yards. First down. 1st and goal. He's in the shotgun on 1st and goal, just inside the Georgia 5-yard line. Brandon's going to throw, fade, right corner of the end zone. That pass is caught by Edwards for a touchdown. Kendrick Edwards, the big 6'6" freshman from Miami. He went up, got it. The Bulldogs 3 for 8 on 3rd downs today, just 1 conversion in the second half. Chubb gets the call inside the 40 to inside the 39, but stopped there shy of the first down. 5:56 to go, 2nd down and 10. From the Bulldog 43-yard line, Allen to throw, over the middle, stands in, complete, down at the 21-yard line to Derby. Hogs at the line of scrimmage. Allen inside handoff. That's Collins. Collins straight ahead. Touchdown, Arkansas. Alex over from 6 yards out. And it's 45-32 with 5:05 to play in the game. 3rd down and 5. Bulldogs at the Hog 35. They toss it left side, Chubb. Chubb's got the first down inside the 25. He'll get down to the Razorback 20. They'll have to snap it one time, and this ball game will end. And Georgia defeats Arkansas by a final of 45-32.